Well, it's a lot of heaviness in the world today. Uh, as we are wherever we are in the world listening to this podcast, it's no way that our hearts and our minds and our bodies could not be aware that there's something big going on in the world today. And so, today's podcast is going to be a little bit different. We're going to be talking to one of our colleagues from Ukraine, and just how do we as EFT therapists, we know what it means to sit in the room with people in emotional and relational distress. But how do we sit with people in the midst of acute trauma and crisis and grief? So today we're going to have a special guest that's going to help us talk about that today.
Welcome to the Leading Edge in Emotionally Focused Therapy with your hosts, Dr. James Hawkins and Dr. Ryan Reyna. EFT is a dynamic model that humbles even the most seasoned therapists. Together, we want to come alongside you as you continually push the leading edge of your understanding and application of this wonderful model developed by Dr. Sue Johnson.
Yeah, today's podcast episode is going to have a little different feel. We usually always have a very clear clinical focus, and there is still somewhat of a focus today. It is really about how do we as EFT therapists, not only when we sit in rooms with people, but how do we show up in moments of crisis going on in the world around us with people who are experiencing very acute trauma. That's one part. But today we also get to be a witness. As an EFT therapist, we're often a witness to people's pain, trauma stories, just a lot of just relational pain. And so today we get to be a witness with our colleague, Elena Retchitz, who is a clinical psychologist in the Ukraine. And she is currently sitting in the Ukraine right now. I mean, what an honor that at a time when danger is miles away, she's here advocating for her nation, her people, and to help us be better therapists and to know how we can be a part of helping them. We also have EFT trainer Zoya Samahotskaya with us today. Y'all got to be proud of me. I'm broadening my cultural awareness here. Zoya is an EFT trainer and therapist in the New York Center for EFT, where she's the executive director. Thank you to colleagues for being here today. My heart is truly touched and honored to share this space with you today.
Oh, hello, James. Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to your podcast and for witnessing everything that is happening currently in Ukraine.
Yeah, Elena. So, Elena, I'm really just want to giving you space today. Just kind of just help us understand just kind of where you are, even as you sit here, right here with us right now. Kind of where are you at, and just kind of, what is it that we need to witness and learn, and kind of what does that work look like right now with you working with refugees during this time?
I have to say that, first of all, I'm not only a professional, I'm a human being affected by this war. And I think that's the thing I share with my whole nation. And I just want to tell you that a month ago, it appeared out of the blue, and it changed dramatically our whole lives. And I had to flee from Kiev, from my hometown, together with my small kid, and together with a child that I carry beneath my heart, and to separate from my husband, who stayed in Kiev, and he is now doing his best to defend our people there. And it's a drama of the life torn apart, and connections between people that torn apart, and we do our best to keep in touch with each other, to support each other, not only me and my family, but the whole Ukraine. And I think that's where EFT therapy is the most useful, because me and Zoya are as EFT therapists here. And I think we can benefit, our community can benefit from everything that EFT accumulated up to now.
Wow.
And it's
Go
yeah,
ahead.
and James, it's really hard for us as therapists to be affected by this shared trauma and to sit at our therapeutic chairs firmly. And that's why I think we need a lot of support now from the world community.
Thank you. What you said that really struck my heart is even like, so there is the physical imminent threat, but then also during this time there is the relational separation, which probably just registers like just like another just kind of wave of pain during this time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Around 44% of Ukrainians had to leave their homes in the last month, according to statistics.
Whoa. So not only are y'all going to be dealing with just once again, just like I said, the very obvious trauma, but then there is this family separation component that's really weighing on everyone and fleeing. So right now, as you said, I know you're kind of really trying to work to help therapists who are working with refugees. And you, I don't know, once again, thank you. Because like you said, it's not only you're a professional, but you're a person. So I am kind of pulling on both sides of your heart at the same time today. How do therapists, if you're speaking to those therapists that maybe are in Germany, Poland, in so many places in that area, what are some things that you would say as an EFT therapist in how to help work with these, the refugees that are fleeing right now?
Oh, that's an interesting question because none of us can answer this question accurately because we face unprecedented events now. I think the whole world haven't experienced such a war since very, very long time. And we actually are a little bit lost. What should we do? For psychological aid or some specific trauma intervention, or just stay with people and give them enough space and to validate, normalize their usual stress reactions? I think the help now should be really nuanced and tailored to the specific needs of the population. Because, for example, some refugees might need just to meet their basic needs. For example, they left their house in panic, they left everything there, and they just need to feel physically safe, I have one of my dear colleagues in Germany. She's from chemotherapy community, Nelly Rice, Dr. Nelly Rice. She's widely known in the US chemotherapy community, I guess. And she just invited Ukrainian refugee family to her home. And she's emailing me now and she's telling me, no, I'm so happy because after 1 week and a half, they stayed at my home. They finally went out to the garden and their children started playing football. And I think that's the best support they could get there in Germany. And my colleague Nelly, she didn't even have to support them somehow therapeutically. She just created that safe place for them. But in other cases, of course, people were exposed to some atrocities, and we know that the massive atrocities have started in some eastern parts of Ukraine. Children witnessed how their parents were shot by Russian soldiers. Young girls were raped, and of course those people, when they are moving to the western part of Ukraine or to other European countries, they need some specific help. And I'm not sure that I'm not a brilliant, I do not have brilliant expertise in trauma therapy, though I do standard trauma work. But now in these circumstances, we never know what kind of intervention would be the best. Some specific trauma intervention or just general care and witnessing and just normalizing, validating, and giving space to the natural recovery. So I think it should be on the individual basis, really.
I thought that was a brilliant answer, actually. I
I
mean,
agree.
Zoya, I don't know if you have anything on
I
that.
agree. You're talking about attunement,
Yes.
right? Attunement to each person, each family. What is it that they need at this moment? Which is what EFT kind of the foundation of EFT, right? Paying attention to where someone is. If all they need is just, some basic needs, that's what we provide. If they need to tell their story, we listen. If they say, I'm overwhelmed, I can't sleep, what do I do? We strategize, we sort of offer them our prefrontal cortex, right? We're trying, okay, how about this, maybe some grounding or things that bring them calmness and joy to this person, right? We have a ton of tools that are available, but what might work for this person? Or like Elena said, the validation and holding and looking at their resourcefulness, right? That they have, the strength that they have. Like Elena right here, I'm just amazed, right? What you're going through, and you're showing up here, not just for you, but for all the therapists, right? This is your strength. That's remarkable. So each of the people that might walk into someone's office or show up somewhere, they have the strength, right? And let's look for that. And kind of remind them, because sometimes people forget. Or we can, talk about something completely different and distract them and laugh together about something. Sense of humor can be an amazing thing in that moment. But other people will need more support in finding meaning and grieving and dealing with their strategies, which is kind of now getting more complex. But I think at first, let's tune in, like
Exactly.
Elena was saying.
Especially when you think about acute trauma, their brains aren't able to stop and kind of really put like this completely coherent way. Their body is stuck in kind of protective mode. And so why I say your answer is brilliant. While in EFT, there is so many ways we have these interventions, we have steps, we have stages, we have the map, we have the tango, but don't forget what's at the core of it, which is learning how to be present with people in their experience, to help attune with and organize, to give the body permission to run through the cycles of all of the things, the limbic triggers, the limbic responses, the ways the brain is trying to make sense out of it, and the protective moves. And so, I think good EFT, sometimes it feels like a massage, not on your back or from the outside, but it's a massage from the inside, as a therapist just sits with you and they sit with you not to just ask you and get things from you, but it's like almost the picture I have with my clients is, and forgive me if I go to, but it's almost as though, let me come sit alongside you and walk through that journey as much where you need me to be. And if it is, how are you doing right now? What do you even notice kind of happening in your body? What are the image and thoughts that go through your head? Having been in the military myself, it's what are the sounds you hear? What are the things you smell? Because the body is carrying all of this deep down in its DNA. And I think the basic part you said, being a helper, is in a way not super complicated. It's allowing people to let them know that you're there and you're available to, as Zoya just kind of said, to lend your limbic system to them, to help do that emotional load sharing with them in very clear and explicit ways. But I like what you said also, Elena. It's not that we always have to talk about it. It's we can do the range of things. You know what? You need that time out of it. We can go to the garden. That's okay. What I've seen with some people, they might be in the garden laughing, and then it turns to tears. The kids might be out playing football, but then next thing you know, their body has a traumatic response when they hear a loud clang. And it's just constantly attuning and giving them permission to say, let's stop. And what did your body experience? And as that panic came up in your chest, if that panic could speak, what is that panic trying to tell you right here, right now? What's the memory that comes up at that panic? And and how can I be with you right here, right now, and then? So I don't know. That's just kind of what comes up for me. Why your answer, like to be just attuned, is so simplistic, but it is the power of it right now. I don't know. That's what kind of hits me. I don't know how that lands for you, as a professional, but out personally too as well.
Sure, that's the first step. And then maybe after some time, you might reveal that some other specific interventions are needed.
That's right.
But you will find it as the next step.
Yep.
The first step always is attunement to the specific individual human being situation.
Wow.
Not just neurological situation, not just the state of the limbic system, just human being situation. Because while you were speaking, James, I thought, I remembered Sue, one of the last courses which Sue gave us on emotionally focused individual therapy. And she told us that EFT is an existential therapy, about existential situation that we all find ourselves as human beings in. And I think the situation that we are now, we Ukrainians are now in, is really existential because it's multi-layered. Of course, biological, emotional state is one layer, but we have other layers of experience that we are going through. For example, some ethical issues that we now have to face as therapists, for example, because Ukrainians are in a vulnerable situation. Their boundaries, but not only psychological, but physical boundaries were seriously, tremendously violated. And we have to take some ethical stance towards that, to recognize those violated boundaries and to recognize that people were violently attacked. And this truth should be witnessed by the whole world, because it's the part of our existential situation. And I think many, for example, my colleagues are really sensitive to those issues. And that's always the first step when we collaborate with our colleagues all around the world. It's the first step. We check, because we share the same situation as all Ukrainians. We check if people really know what is happening with us, if they witness, if they really care, if they show active compassion. And that's really about not only about our safety, because when you want to feel safe, you always check if the other person is recognizing your reality and your boundaries and who violated them and so on and so forth, and what's your experience at the moment. It's not as I said before, it's not only the issue of safety, it's also the issue of dignity to some extent. Issue of some basic humanistic existential values, where the other person takes a position of witness of somebody who feels really compassionate about your situation. And I think it has to be taken into account when you work with the Ukrainian affected population, as well as with Ukrainian therapists.
Thank you. That was everything you just said. There was a lot of nuggets in what you just said, but the line that hit me was really taking the position of witness to the human experience. Taking the position of witness to the full human experience is a great posture for all of us to take. And even I may talk about attachment, so many lines you said in that also like it's almost in the person, like on the receiving end of this care. Can we send them signals that we are, this is what, Sue is big for saying, that we're ARE. Are we accessible, responsive, and emotionally engaged? And what made that come up is when you said, it's almost like you do need to check. Do you recognize our reality?
Right.
Can I
Right.
see in you, can I get a signal from you, a clear signal that says you truly
Right.
do empathize with our experience? Because if I can't get a clear signal that you empathize with our experience, there's no way I should open this wound up to let you witness it. Because not only am I already hurting from the experience, but then if I'm already in pain and I open up and your limbic, you're not open to my full human experience, then I've got to still guard it. Whew.
Right.
I hope I'm taking you in rightly here. That was huge.
And it is the truth. And I want to make it even more concrete.
Go ahead.
Right. So how do we let people know we're with them and safe? It can be in the language we use. Do we use a passive language, this terrible thing that happened to you? Or do we say you were attacked, this war that, the invasion that happened to your home, right? Your safety, the Russian government took away your sense of safety, right? Do we use the concrete language versus something vague and abstract? I think people will sense it, right? They will sense they
will smell it.
They will smell it. They will sense it. They will smell through the Zoom. They will smell it if you're working with them on Zoom. So you have to be really clear and sometimes brave to do that, to say that. So that's the first thing that came to mind as Elena was talking. How do we do that? How do we give someone a sense of safety or share our personal feelings? That's another way. I mean, you have to be, of course, attuned, but this is where you come in and then you say, I'm also enraged, or I am feeling sometimes when I watch the images of, children who are killed or women or civilians and destroyed, I'm overwhelmed by sort of the sadness, the rage, whatever it is. So joining them in a more, if you're feeling it, please be genuine about it. It has to be real. So when you join them in their experience and you name the truth, that does tell them you're safe.
Yeah, I wish you, I know this is a podcast, I wish you could have just watched the nonverbals here as I'm talking to my colleagues, as Zoya leaned into that and fully gave expression, just to watch even Olena's body, as Zoya said, I am outraged. Your freedom was taken. You've been attacked. You've been terrorized. It's like you could even feel it in that Zoya. I think this is a big part. This is a part I think that makes EFT a little bit hard for some. I'll say this, it's a risky statement to say. In EFT, we do not stay distant from our clients' pain and suffering. In EFT, I think to be a good EFT therapist, you have to allow your client's experience to wash over you, to feel it, to let it come alive in you, and then you reflect it back outwardly how you feel their experience with them. And as Olena just kind of said to us, and then Zoya highlighted even right there, do you truly witness it? Do you truly witness it? Do you truly get it? And we do need to send out a signal. Yes, Olena, I can see the heaviness in your heart. I can hear it in your voice. And this atrocity, this blatant just attack on humanity that is terrorizing people, but it's not even just terror, like it is terrorizing you, but we all should witness it. The world should not look away from this. We should not turn our eyes away from this and think like, because we're distant, it doesn't affect us. We should be touched by it. And then that should move us to do something,
right?
To get really practical, right? So thank you for it. I think there was a lot of nuggets in there for our listeners to learn from. even if they're not directly helping refugees at this moment, I think what you've said to us should just make us better human beings and better clinicians.
Right.
But I do want to make space for the practical part. Go ahead, Zoya.
Well, I wanted to add a nuance,
Okay.
because EFT is about attunement.
That's right.
We also want to be attuned to, as we were saying, to a particular person. And there might be clients that come in that are Ukrainian and they're refugees, and they also have connections to Russia. And they may have mixed experiences that they will come in. We want to make room for all of it. Because I sometimes worry that, people might hide certain feelings from us, right? So we want to welcome all of it. We'll welcome the rage, the shame, the helplessness, all of it. That's one thing we can do. And hold it gently, whatever it is, in that moment, because as we know, feelings do change. But to acknowledge that they may, I've heard stories of, family members being, on different sides, so to speak, right? And, a therapist not being able to talk to her mother, who is, on the other side and does not believe in her reality. How do we, that's a lot, right? So let's, show ourselves and make room for whatever is there with our clients.
I like that. I like that breakdown you even just gave there, Zoya. Show ourselves, welcome the full experience, and hold it.
Yeah.
Hold it with them. I like this. That's a good, clear way. Show ourselves. That's the first part. We do need to bring ourselves into it to even show that we can be a safe, trusted figure. Show it. Invite the whole experience. That's the human experience, as Elena just said to us. And then that's where we hold it with them. Thank you.
And check in, right? Check in. How is it landing what we're saying, right? We don't always know. That's the collaboration, right? How is it landing for that person in that moment, right? Because they might say, you know what, I don't want to hear about your feelings right now. And you say, thank you for letting me know. I'm gonna get quiet for a bit here.
That's good. That's right. Thank you. So I do want to make space for the practical part, because I know, like, you two have been working tirelessly to, while we do need this emotional support and some of the clinical services. And so, I know there are efforts going on to help, support Ukrainian therapists in being able to provide some trauma response. I think there are people in Germany asking for help, in Poland, different places. But I do want to take a moment to get really practical to how our users can be involved to help out. So what are some of the practical ways that if someone's listening to this right now, they can, like Elena said, maybe it might be they need blankets, they need pillows, whatever that might be. How can we be involved in helping that way?
I think, James, I have some personal interest in that because I know Ukrainian therapeutic community, people from different modalities. I'm involved in a few communities, and I know that all of our therapists are working now really 24/7. And there is a lot of really skillful and devoted therapists in Ukraine. And I think they are in close touch with the affected population. And in my opinion, EFTers from the US, from Canada, from the North American, from all over the world, they can, first of all, help the Ukrainian helpers, because our brains are on fire, and we struggle much with this whole new bunch of experiences, so to speak. And sometimes we need supervision or professional support from our colleagues who are in a safer place and who are more emotionally regulated. And such groups of support for therapists or supervision groups are of great need, and they're quite popular now in Ukraine. That's the first thing. Then I think we will have to deal after some time with reconciliation of Ukrainian couples, Ukrainian families, and we will need to do a lot of couples work, family work with traumatized population. And I think the international community might be helpful in developing or adapting already existing programs to use it on Ukrainian ground. I know many programs from CBT-based programs, and we are currently using them because CBT is quite developed in Ukraine. But I also know that EFT programs could be used as well. For example, before this massive war, of course, the war has started in Ukraine more than 7 years ago. But it was local after the annex, after Crimea was annexed in 2014, and after terrorists took control over some regions of the eastern Ukraine. They were supported by Russia. But we have combatants there and affected population there since 2014. And we had already experience of working with them. And we utilized Sue Johnson and Catherine Ream. They developed a beautiful program, Strong Bonds, Strong Couples, for the US and for Canadian veterans. And they were spreading this program for more than 10 years. And they generously gave this program as a gift for us, and we adapted it to Ukrainian. And before this new wave of the war, we have already run this program with Ukrainian veterans and their spouses, and it was really effective. And I think we can develop even more this program with the help of international EFTs. And I think we can develop some tools also for the whole Ukrainian families. I know that American EFTers worked extensively after 9/11 with affected families in New York. And I think we can create some programs and to give them a start in Ukraine when situation becomes more peaceful. And I know it would this work of reconciliation, rebuilding our country and our families will last for years. And it's a marathon, it's a long run, and we will need your support, of course.
Thank you for
and oh, James, sorry for interrupting you. The last but not the least, some of us has financial support now, but some of us fully dedicated themselves to the volunteer work. And of course, we would like to support our colleagues who are volunteering. We would like to financially support people who translate and develop some tools for our therapists. And that's why we started fundraising. And we will give you the link. Zoe has all the information.
Right. Well, first of all, Elena is not taking enough credit. She was the person who reached out to get the strong bonds, strong couples and translated. So she's the reason that program exists in Ukraine. So she's an amazing therapist and very passionate about helping veterans and their families. And she's part of the Ukrainian EFT Association board, I believe, and has been very creative in all their endeavors. So I want to give her big kudos.
Yeah, I mean,
because she won't, so I have to.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, what a great map you just laid out here. Support groups, that professional support. There's looking forward to the future for the reconciliation work. So that's where we do need to get some people helping to help, translate strong bonds that you might have already completed, but there's still more work to do to translate materials. But how can we help support? Like, what's maybe a link people can go to help support some of these Ukrainian therapists who are providing these services?
Right. So the Ukrainian EFT Association has set up a fund, and they're developing a program that will financially support therapists, Ukrainian therapists, EFT therapists who are doing pro bono work with refugees and people on the ground. And there are two ways to contribute. One is we will put in whatever, James will take care of that in the podcast notes. There will be a link through this online money transfer. You can use your credit card and just donate directly to the fund, to the bank account of the Ukrainian EFT Association. Or if you have trouble with the language, etc., I've set up a GoFundMe fundraiser page through my American account, and you can donate there, and all the money will get then I will transfer it to the Ukrainian EFT Association account. So there are two, in terms of financial support, that's two major way. We're also will be sending out soon through probably EFT listserv or other means, Google Doc or something like that will ask, it will be a survey if you want to contribute supervising, if you speak different languages, whether it's supervision or training or running support groups for Ukrainian therapists. We will collect that data and begin to organize, and it's already happening. So we will be setting up support group for Ukrainian therapists who are in, like Olena are in it, right? Mm-hmm. So they need someone like me or other therapists outside to be with them, to support them, to listen, to hold them, because I'm not in it. Yes, I'm affected. I'm myself from Kiev. I immigrated when I was 22, and to see the city and the destruction it touches me, but I'm not in it. So I can hold, and we can hold them. And I am absolutely 100% sure that they will continue being creative and creating hold me tight kinds of groups for couples, for families, with music and dance and other things that will help with the healing and reconciliation based on EFT principles. I'm very confident that they will not just take what exists, but they will add to it and innovate it, and then we will learn from it, because they're incredibly resourceful and gifted people.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Zoe. And may we share Ukrainian EFT Association email address with James's audience, because maybe somebody has the urgent need to contribute with supervision or any other kind of support.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Maybe do that.
Absolutely. He will put it in the notes as well.
Yeah. Please, if you're listening, I know a lot of you listen as you drive, as you do different activities. If you want to be a part, please go open the app where you listen to us and go check the show notes, and you'll be able to find all of these links to go find ways that you can be of help. So there's financial help. There's also just what we do as therapists, that emotional support help, and lending your clinical expertise in trauma and EFT to help walk with our fellow colleagues, and not even just colleagues, as Elena is our fellow human beings in this experience. Elena, I want to let you have the last word here, just, as we get ready to close out. What would your last words be with us today?
Oh, just thank you for inviting me here. Thank you for staying with me for the last half an hour, I guess. Mm-hmm. Because I took some space to connect to you, and you gave me witnessing, you gave me support. And I think you have just demonstrated, you and Zoya, how EFTers all around the world can be with us and can hold us.
Thank you, Elena, and thank you for the gift you're giving us in the midst of this horrible experience for you, though. You're teaching us, you're using your pain to teach us to be human beings, and thank you for that. That's a gift, to be able to walk with you in the community in this. It really has touched me in many ways. It's a gift, so thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Zoya, for connecting us. Once again, you all, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you've benefited from it as well, that it can help you in other ways as you work with other human beings going through crises, learning how to attune to them, to invite their experience, all of it, and then how to hold it, and then still check back in to make sure that you're in the right place with them and giving them the help that they really need. And that's what we really need at a basic human level during times of crisis, is the people to meet us right there and do that emotional load sharing that we talk about in EFT. Thank you all so much, and really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you for listening. We hope this experience helps you push the leading edge in your work to help people connect with themselves and with each other. Please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a 5-star review. You can contact us at pushtheleadingedge@gmail.com. And you can follow us on our Facebook page at Push the Leading Edge. You can follow Ryan on Facebook at Ryan Reyna Professional Training and on his website, ryanreynatraining.com. You can follow James on Facebook and Instagram at DocHawkLPC. You can also check out his website, DocHawkLPC.com.